Picture this. You're at the Pentagon, the heart of US military operations. An alarm blares, not for an attack, but for a digital crisis. A critical system has crashed, and every hour it's down, it's costing them $42,000. That's $700 a minute. The pressure is immense, and all eyes are on me. I was the lead engineer, the one they called when things went sideways. This wasn't my first rodeo. I'd been in the tech trenches for years, starting with a beat-up computer in my parents' basement. I was the kid who took apart radios just to see how they worked. That curiosity led me to a computer science degree, and eventually to this high-stakes world of defense contracting. The job was intense, demanding, and paid well. But more than the money, I was driven by the challenge, the feeling of solving puzzles that others couldn't. So, when that system crashed, I dove in. Code flew across my screen. I was in the zone, tracing data packets, diagnosing server failures, and coordinating with a team of stressed-out specialists. The air was thick with tension. Colonels and project managers were breathing down my neck, asking for updates every 5 minutes. "What's the ETA? When will it be back online?" they'd ask, their faces tight with anxiety. I just kept my head down, focusing on the problem. "Almost there, just need to isolate the corrupted database index," I'd mutter back. We worked through the night. Coffee and adrenaline were our fuel. Finally, after a grueling 18 hours straight, I found it. A single line of faulty code from a recent software patch. A tiny mistake with massive consequences. I implemented a hotfix, rebooted the servers, and watched as the system slowly flickered back to life. The red lights on the monitoring board turned green, one by one. The room erupted in a wave of relief. People were clapping, shaking my hand. I felt a surge of pride. We did it. We stopped the bleeding. The next morning, I was exhausted, but satisfied. I walked into the office, expecting a pat on the back, maybe even a bonus. Instead, I was called into a meeting with my direct supervisor, a man named Henderson, and a stern-faced representative from Human Resources. Henderson was a classic corporate type, more interested in spreadsheets and schedules than in the actual technology. He never quite understood what my team did, only that it was expensive. "We have to let you go," he said without any preamble. I was stunned. I thought it was a joke. "Let me go! We just saved the project! We stopped a leak that was costing tens of thousands an hour." Henderson just shook his head, looking uncomfortable. "The review board has decided your team's reaction time was not within the acceptable parameters outlined in our service-level agreement. The 18-hour downtime is being classified as a catastrophic failure." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "A catastrophic failure. We averted one. The system was old, underfunded, and patched together with digital duct tape. I've been warning you for months that this was going to happen. I filed reports. I brought it up in meetings. You ignored them all to save a few bucks on upgrades." The HR rep cleared her throat. "The decision is final. We appreciate your service, but your employment is terminated, effective immediately." They slid a box across the table for my personal belongings. I was escorted out of the building like a criminal. Walking to my car, I felt a mix of rage and disbelief. I had poured my life into that job, sacrificed weekends, missed family events, all for this. All for a manager who didn't know the difference between a server and a coffee maker, to fire me over a crisis he himself had created through neglect. Back home, I spent the first week just decompressing. I didn't even look at my computer. I went hiking, read books, and reconnected with friends. For the first time in years, I wasn't on call. There were no late-night alerts, no emergency emails. A strange sense of freedom began to settle in. I started my own consulting business from my home office, just a simple website and a business card. I reached out to a few old contacts, and word started to spread. Within a month, I had a couple of small clients. It wasn't Pentagon money, but it was mine. I was my own boss. I set my own hours. Life was good. About 2 months after I was fired, my phone rang. The caller ID was a number I recognized, the direct line to my old department at the Pentagon. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, a message popped up. It was one of my old team members, a junior engineer named Kevin. "Hey man, it's Kevin. We've got a problem, a big one. The hotfix you implemented? Someone tried to optimize it and, well, it's all gone wrong. The whole system is down again. Henderson is losing his mind. Please, can you call me back? I smirked. Of course, they tried to optimize it. A manager probably told them to clean up my messy code without understanding how it worked. I ignored the message. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it was Henderson himself. I decided to answer. "Hello?" I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Thank God," Henderson sounded panicked. "We need you. We desperately need you. The system is down again. It's worse this time. The data is getting corrupted. We can't fix it. The guys you trained, they're lost." I let him talk, enjoying the desperation in his voice. This was the man who fired me for saving his project. "I'm sorry to hear that, Henderson," I said calmly. "That sounds like a serious problem." It is. It's a disaster. Name your price. We'll pay anything. Just please, you have to come back and fix this." The irony was delicious. Just weeks ago, I was disposable. Now I was indispensable. "Henderson," I said, taking a slow sip of my coffee. "I'm no longer your employee. I'm a private consultant now." There was a pause on the line. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head. "A consultant? Fine. What are your rates?" he asked, his voice strained. This was the moment I had been waiting for. I thought about the stress, the sleepless nights, the disrespect. I thought about the $42,000 an hour they were losing. "My emergency, on-site consultation rate is $5,000 an hour," I said, keeping my voice steady, "with a 4-hour minimum payable in advance." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could hear him doing the math. $20,000 just for me to walk in the door. "5,000 an hour?" he sputtered. That's insane." I chuckled. "Is it? You're losing over $40,000 an hour. My price saves you money. And Henderson, that rate is non-negotiable. If you want my help, you'll transfer the $20,000 to my business account. I'll send you the details. Once the payment clears, I'll head over." "But we need you now," he pleaded. I took another sip of coffee. "Henderson, I'm currently with another client. Once the payment clears, I will reschedule them. The clock is ticking. Your clock, not mine." I knew they had no other options. The proprietary system was a labyrinth I had helped build. No one else knew its secrets like I did. I hung up the phone and sent him my banking information. I felt a sense of vindication that was far more satisfying than any paycheck they had ever given me. Less than 30 minutes later, I got a notification from my bank. A wire transfer for $20,000 had been deposited into my account. I drove back to the Pentagon, but this time it was different. I wasn't an employee scurrying to put out a fire. I was a hired gun, a specialist brought in to solve a problem they couldn't handle. I walked past the same security desk, but this time I badged in as a contractor. Henderson met me at the entrance, his face a mask of forced politeness. "Glad you could make it," he said, avoiding eye contact. I didn't say a word. I just walked to my old terminal. The team looked relieved to see me. I sat down, cracked my knuckles, and got to work. It was a mess, even worse than I thought. The optimization had created a feedback loop that was writing garbage data all over the primary database. It took me 6 hours to untangle the mess, restore the data from a backup, and re-implement my original fix with added safeguards to prevent anyone from messing with it again. 6 hours. At my new rate, that was $30,000. When the system was stable and all the lights were green again, I stood up. Henderson rushed over. "Is it fixed? Is it stable?" I just nodded. "It's fixed, and I've locked the core functions. Don't try to optimize it again." I packed up my laptop. "I'll send you the final invoice," I said, and walked out without a second glance. The experience taught me a powerful lesson about knowing your value. In the corporate world, you can be a hero one day and a scapegoat the next. They saw me as an expense on a spreadsheet until they couldn't function without me. Getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to my career. It forced me to bet on myself. Now, I run a successful consulting firm, and guess who one of my most reliable clients is? The Pentagon. They have me on a very expensive retainer, and Henderson approves every invoice without a single complaint. Sometimes, the best way to get respect is to make them pay for your absence. Thanks for watching. If you've ever had a story where you had to prove your own worth, drop it in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.